Andrew Schlecht, we're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, only when the Canada team beats USA for the bronze medal on a Sunday morning, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Hey, A, thank you for doing this early, your time, and B, wow, what a game. I watched the first 2 hours in a very nice way, just myself, in front of my TV. Then I had lunch with the entire family, and so I was looking at the cell phone like, oh, what is happening right now? Like, why is Mikal Bridges alone? He took the free throw, and then how nobody?
That was crazy.
Yeah,
that was so crazy because it just felt like, okay, we're gonna go through the free throw motions here. Canada's gonna win, and
Shai's gonna take them. It's going to be fine.
Yeah,
I was rooting heavily for Canada. I was not prepared to the emotion that, Canada has to win now. Like, they have to.
Yeah. I'm a U.S. citizen. I kind of felt the same way. It was just, it's just fun to watch Shai dominate. I know. It's messed up. But if you're going to DNP CD, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Ingram, I had no choice. Choice to switch my allegiance.
Okay.
Yeah, that Mikal Bridges shot.
You're a big JJJ guy?
I like JJJ. Yeah, he was not very good in the tournament, but
no.
But yeah, that Bridges shot was unbelievable. He got his own rebound off the free throw, relocates to the corner so quickly, nails the three to tie the game. And I think everybody was just in shock. But it was just delayed the inevitable as Shai started. I think he scored the first 7 points of overtime on his own.
Yeah.
And did it with this pull-up jumper. He absolutely embarrassed Mikal Bridges. Basically, they were trying to trap him every time he had the ball.
Yeah.
And so they went for a trap. Shai did his signature stop and start, puts Bridges on his butt, step back three on Reeves, swish, which
that was...
That was the play of the game. It was unbelievable. I just could not believe that he was obviously and clearly, and shouts to Dylan Brooks, but he was obviously and clearly the best player on the floor. And he's sharing it with Halliburton and Bridges and Edwards and Brunson and Walker Kessler, and he's just obviously the best player.
Yeah, and it was not my favorite shot of the night, just because I felt in love of that motion that he had in the fourth, where he was guarded by three guys, I think, including Kessler, hand raised, and he was just moving, probing shoulders, and then he makes this fake, and with one hand he was able to lay it in with an insane spin on the ball and one. That was wow! How can you do this? And yeah, if you listen to the general NBA media, national media, it's wow. I can't wait to see Halliburton with the Pacers. And don't get me wrong, we really liked Tyrese in our draft coverage. It's a player that I really like.
Good player.
But it's hey, Shai is totally another level. We are not talking about apples and apples here. It's no. These are two very different players in terms of tiers and ranking. There should be at least a tier in between Shai and Tyrese.
Yeah.
Shai, Brooks was awesome. Brooks took 10 very, very good threes that Shai manufactured on his own. Basically, it's not 10. It's probably 6 or 7, the ones that Shai passed, where Shai passed him open. But the first few actions of the game, it was Shai creating offense and finding Brooks wide open at all times, and delivering perfect passes. And it takes a while to go from, hey, I'm hitting 4 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. So props to Brooks. It was awesome. But the engine of the team, the force behind all this, the guy who the entire American team was laser focused on, was Shai. And he delivered big time again, which I mean, I didn't watch Serbia, so I don't know about that game. I couldn't like recoup the game, so I don't know what happened there. But in the 3 games that I watched against Spain, against Luca, and against Team USA, Shea was basically in total control of the game.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what a top 10 NBA player, top 5 maybe, does in FIBA. Like,
Mhm.
the game is mine. And I will be able to mold and to bend defenses to my decisions. And Shea was able to do that. Credit to
Mm.
him. It was insane. And I mean, it's the best way to end FIBA, I would say, for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Canadian national team hasn't medaled in FIBA. And so just to like get a
Yeah.
medal for FIBA is a huge deal. And the U.S. just didn't have anybody that could adequately defend Shea. Not that many players in the world exist that
Mhm.
can adequately defend Shea.
Probably 2 are on Canada team.
Yeah, those two would do a better job than what any of these guys did. Bridges is not physical enough
Mhm.
with him. Like
Marcus Smart is probably the best.
Smart would
Eh,
have been good.
mhm.
Yeah. Edwards couldn't do it.
No.
Josh Hart fouled out trying to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so
And
yeah,
you're right. Michele is not physical enough. He's a great player. We'll talk about him in the next part of the podcast, I'm sure. Um, he was the best player in FIBA for USA in this FIBA tournament. So
yeah,
props to him, credit to him. He spent a ton of energy on offense, and so you can't really ask him to be also the best defender. But Shea needs a very specific type of defender. Either you have a guy like Aaron Gordon, like Herb Jones, is tall, strong, physical, or you need a very, very, very thick and physical dude, which
hmm
Michael Bridges is not.
hmm yeah. No, he's not. And Bridges did all he could, I thought. But a lot of times they'd get Reeves switched on to Shea, and then it was just over. And
Yeah.
Reeves had a really good offensive tournament. Like I don't mean to demean him because he shot the
No.
ball well, shot free throws well, but defensively he's got like nothing on a lot of guys. I mean, it was a problem against Germany.
Hmm.
It was a huge problem against the USA. Is that they decided to close games with Austin Reeves, and it was basically just here's how you get a bucket: is you just find Austin Reeves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and they scored almost every single time that
Yeah.
that Shea got that switch, and then if not, if the trap worked, he was finding Dylan Brooks, and Dylan Brooks didn't only just hit like spot up threes from Shea or spot up, easy shots from him. He had to create some stuff too
Yeah.
and played well and defensively gave it his all. I mean,
Yeah.
he was crazy good. 39 points, four boards, 5 assists. He was great. Stayed out of foul trouble too, which
Yeah.
was pretty key. Dort almost fouled out of this game. Dort played well too. Like
Yeah.
this was honestly a great version of Dort, I thought,
Yeah.
where he's not super involved in all the actions. If he's there if you need him kind of thing on offense. And
Yeah.
then defensively, he's just giving all he's got. He
Yeah.
played 32 minutes in this game. Shea played 40 minutes in
Yeah.
this one. And
Can I say something really mean?
I mean, if it's about Dort, you better hold your
No.
tongue. All right,
No,
go.
it's not about Dort.
All right, go ahead.
No, I think that tonight Dort had probably 2 bad moments in the game, which is
Yeah.
completely okay. He rushed the 3 at the beginning of the game where he tried to shut himself into the game. And he
Classic.
had a possession where Canada was rolling, and he took like one really bad Dort possession. But that's fine. I mean,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, he was very composed in offense for the most part. He was very good in defense, and he was part of every good lineup
Mhm.
that Canada had against USA. Speaking of lineup and lineups, plural, what happened? What the heck happened in the second quarter where Canada switched in Ajim and Edie and like all this? I mean, it's the US. You're winning by 10. Great. What are you doing?
Well,
I
and
mean,
it's the U.S. that's playing Walker Kessler and Bobby Portis. It's like
yeah, exactly. There's
what?
no
What are we
There's
doing?
no Shaquille O'Neal or guys, and even if it was like, please don't do it.
Yeah,
He
don't do it
played
twice.
the
Yeah.
80 played 2.5 minutes, and it was minus 15, and you could tell that that was exactly what happened in the court.
It felt like minus 1,000. I mean, he should have been out there to
Wow.
rebound, but like couldn't even rebound. I think he had one rebound.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
Dylan Brooks saw that he was not, absolutely not boxing out
yeah,
Portis. He had to do it, or Kessler, he had to do it himself. And that's why Mikal Bridges was open in the corner. It's
yeah,
because Dylan Brooks was going after the box out, because otherwise it was a Team USA rebound, because he was so slow that he was not able to get position. Like,
yeah.
what are you doing?
I don't know.
Like, it was
That
like
was,
this game should have been a 20-point Canada win in regulation.
yeah.
That was the actual product in the court. It was this 15 minutes where, for some reason, Canada tried really hard to tank this game and to ruin everything.
It happens
And
like it feels like that happens every game though with Canada. Is that
yeah,
they just find these spots in the game where they just completely wet themselves and
yeah,
then just hope that Shai and Dylan Brooks can deliver something for them.
yeah. And weirdly enough, it's not enough to put E on the court as a center. You put Olenek at the 4, like,
Yeah. To their credit, they did not play Olenek or Zach Edey that much. And like the guys
sure,
that they played, it was Dort, Shai, Dwight Powell, RJ, Dylan Brooks. Like those were their guys. And they stuck with them. They played Nikhil 17 minutes. I feel like he could have played 25 minutes.
exactly. Just
You know?
play 7 guys. In
Yeah.
FIBA is more than enough to
Uh-huh.
win a basketball game. Just play Olenek as the lone center whenever you need to give Powell a breather, and just play now.
Yeah.
Nikhil Alexander Walker, and that's fine. That is a perfectly fine rotation.
Mhm.
If you need to put like Ejim there for 5 minutes, okay. But putting like Ejim and Olenek and Zakidi at the same time, like, what the heck, man?
Yeah.
Like, what are you expecting from those lineups?
Yeah.
It was just okay. It's no.
Well, I mean, the U.S. struggled even more, I thought, lineup wise, because like I mean, they're just trying things that they hadn't done the entire tournament.
Yeah.
You
Is
know,
this the time to experiment? Like,
let's throw Cam Johnson out there. You haven't played hardly any. Let's see what you got. I think he could have played more throughout the tournament. Anyways, let's not play Triple J, Paolo, or Brandon Ingram. You know, they didn't play any of those guys.
yeah.
I thought that was interesting. You
Yeah,
know,
but those guys were like sick, like really sick. I think they had like food poisoning or something like that.
Hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do if you're Steve Kerr. If you don't want to play those guys, if you gotta throw something in their food the night before, you just got to do it. You know, they were obviously guys that they didn't want to play.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they were not well, but also, would anybody be surprised if those were healthy DMP CDs? You know, yeah. Anyways, like Josh Hart fouled out in this game in 22 minutes. I thought that was interesting. Jalen Brunson, who was like pegged as the leader of Team USA, like slowly became like, oh my gosh, like he's basically like a 6-man type of role where he plays 20 minutes a game. Edwards was the guy and played pretty well. He was 9 of 20 from the field for 24 points. But you know, couldn't make shots down the stretch for the USA.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the difference between he and Shai. He tried to, there was kind of a cool moment where Shai goes down the court, hits a pull-up J. Edwards tries to do the same thing, comes down and misses. You know, that's just kind of the nights that both those guys had. And Shai just looked better doing it. And Shai finished with, if I don't know that we said this yet, 31 points, 6 boards, 12 assists, only 1 turnover. And
That's insane. That stat right there, it's insane. I think he's averaging like 1.3, 1.5 for the tournament.
Yeah, it's less than 2.
Yeah.
Which is wild with the amount of responsibilities that he had in this game and the amount of passing that he did in this game. I mean, it's crazy. 11 of 20 from the field, 10 of 17 from 2, 1 of 3 from 3. The 1-3 was extremely memorable. And then 8 of 8 from the free throw line. He was awesome in this one. Had an efficiency score of 40, only to be beaten by Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks
42. And then nobody on the USA team had above 23, which was Bridges. So, yeah, the US doesn't win in the FIBA World Cup a lot. Like that's becoming kind of a thing because they send their B squad that doesn't have a ton of experience of playing together. And yet still like their talent is pretty overwhelming compared to everybody else. And they still should have won this tournament if you just like stack up the talent. Shai had never played FIBA before, so it's not like Canada has like this crazy advantage and that these guys have been playing together forever kind of thing.
No,
it's not. I mean, this is twice in a. I mean, I guess Trey Kirby said that on Twitter that the U.S. hadn't medaled since 2014. FIBA. So it's that's pretty rough. But congrats to the Canadian national team. Shai, obviously, just ready to springboard into this NBA season. Yeah, I am so excited to continue to watch Shai play basketball. And if you're a Thunder fan, man, you're lucky to have Shai on your team. This is seriously one of the best players in the world. And if you're Team Canada, who is qualified for the Olympics, and you have Shai, and I think you're going to get Jamal as long as he's healthy. And if you can get Andrew Wiggins to join the bunch, I mean,
that will be extremely helpful for the Olympics.
Yes. And then you pair them with obviously like Dort and RJ and Brooks. Man, it's a squad. Like that's how you can defend the USA, and they did today with Brooks and Dort, and using those to just hound.
Can I give a shout to a player that we didn't mention at all, which I think was crucial in the last 3 games? Again, I don't know about Serbia, but Dwight Powell is kind of amazing for what they do.
I needed him.
He's a guy that can really help you when you switch pick and rolls. He was the reason why Luka Doncic was not able to destroy Canada, because whenever you're switching to Powell, he's a guy that can guard anybody in pick and roll settings. Now, it doesn't give you close to anything on offense unless you create from dunker spot for him or you're giving him like a wide open dunk. But he is the guy that can hold on a defense because of his switchability and the fact he doesn't take possessions off. He's just there, like hustling every single possession, and he was awesome. It was awesome in this tournament for what he does, like defending, being a very good screener on offense, just being in the right spot in offense to get those 3, 4, 5 possessions you create for him. So props to him again. Shai was awesome. Brooks was insane in a couple of games. But Dwight Powell is also deserving a shout out because he was very, very good. Very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. It's worth going, at least watching the highlights. If you can watch just the fourth quarter and overtime, I would. Or if you even want to watch less than that, just watch overtime. Because like the first few minutes of it, Shai just snatched it.
Yeah.
From the US.
And they couldn't do like 2 possessions left in the fourth quarter, like a minute or 2 left. Yeah. Watch how USA goes back into the game and then just watch Shai destroying everything and everyone.
Yeah. They're tied at 100, I think. And I mean, it's unbelievable what he did. And the US literally threw everything at him.
It's not that,
everything.
hey, we're guiding you 1-1. No.
No,
It's
double, triple
hey.
teams. Like get the ball out of his hands. Like do everything that you can.
Mhm.
And luckily for Canada, it was one of Dylan Brooks's nights. But those moments were created by Shai and the
Yeah,
attention that he created, and the fact that he didn't turn the ball over. He was throwing incredible passes, and I cannot wait to see Shai play with Chet and with a new beefed up J Dub and Giddy and Micic and all these guys. I mean, it's going to be incredible to see
yeah.
what he can do. I mean, I think it felt like, okay, like has Shai hit his ceiling last year? I just don't think so. I think that he's got he was all NBA last year, but I think like everybody will think of him as a top 5 level player in the league.
Top 5 in MVP voting.
Yeah, I think that he could be top 3 in MVP voting this year. If the Thunder can be like in the playoff picture throughout the season, he could win it. Like the Thunder could have another MVP on their hands with this guy. Like that's possible. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's certainly possible.
Well, according to Francis McCarty, he's paying $2,000 for MVP. So
Hey,
I'm not a betting person. I don't bet. But hey,
I
it
don't
doesn't
either.
sound like a bet that is terrible if you're betting.
Yeah, just go put $20 on it. See what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break. After the break, I've got 4 questions from Michele about the Thunder. We'll be right back. And we're back after that quick break. Michele, I have 4 questions for you.
Wow.
About this Thunder team. They're all very random. They're just like questions I had just floating around my brain that I put down on paper last night. So, question number 1. What swing skill would propel a Thunder player from being a fringe rotation player into a top 8 rotation player? So, we're talking about guys who are unlikely to play big roles on this team that could suddenly become like part of like the key core rotation that plays in a play-in game or in the playoff game or in these in-season tournament games. So we're talking at the moment players that I don't think would be in like a top 8. Poku, Trey Mann, JRE, Usman Jang,
J. Will.
Maybe J. Will. J. Will could already be part of that. Wiggins is part of probably. Yeah. Is there anybody that you just think if they could just improve this one thing, they could be like a huge contributor to what the Thunder are doing?
So of course, if you think about, for example, Wiggins, and you say, okay, let's transform him into a 45% three-point shooter, that would be ideal. But I don't think that this is the heart of the question. The heart of the question is, hey, is there a guy that you can foresee adding something, like reasonably adding something that can propel him to be there? I have 2 names for that. The first one is Usman Jang. I think that, and you discussed that on the Fry Pod and in many other podcasts that you did over the past few weeks. OKC is trying to be the tallest, a tall team with a lot of skill guys, and Usman Jang fits that to a T. He can do stuff with the ball. He's a decent offensive player, not consistent, but a decent offensive player. The thing that he lacks is physicality.
Yeah.
So Giddy from year 1 to year 2 improved quite a lot on that end. It was not physical. It was like not searching for contact, nor using the contacts as something that is part of the game. And Usman Jang has to do that in 2 parts of his game: rebounding and just being a physical guy on offense. Just put your shoulder into guys when you are going at the basket. Just create a lot of charges if you need to. Just dismantle guys. You're 6'11". You're a beast. Just show everybody that. If that happens, like he can get into a starting job eventually. Maybe not next season, but he is good defensively. He's a guy that understands really what defense is about.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily need to start with Lou Dort as your defender. You may need Dort to close games against certain guys. But if Jen gives you good enough defense while being physical on the rebounding department and on the finishing part, while being serviceable in hitting spot up shots, that is a swing skill that can propel him into an 8-man rotation. And the second one is consistency from Trey Mann, because Trey Mann is a guy that I know that if you think about him now, you don't see him in the concept of this team.
Yeah.
Because they got Case and Wallace, they got Mitsic. But both of those guys are not able to create offense at the same rate that Trey can.
Yeah.
For Trey, it's just about believing in himself and being consistent with his shot dropping. I think it is third or second in attempts from three. He hit 31%, which is not Trey Mann. Trey Mann is a 40% kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he can get there. It's all mental. It's not about his hands or his motion or his shot selection. It's about, hey, you need to be there with your mind, which is probably harder than teaching Jang to put his shoulder onto a chest and just be there with his body. So I would pick this too.
Yeah. No, I think both are very good. I think Jang is such an interesting guy going into the season. And he's still really young. I think there's still time for him to develop, even if this is not his season where he becomes a part of the rotation. So I'm not necessarily like expecting or thinking that he should hit a certain level. I also just don't know if he'll ever have like that like grit and grind mentality. You know? And I think that's okay. I don't think that he needs to have that to be successful. I think he can be successful even being more of a finesse type of player. I think that sometimes you need lots of different kinds of players to make a team. And I think Jang being more of a finesse player is okay. But I do think it's harder to be that kind of player and be a role player on a team. I think that the guys that really carve out roles that don't like take a ton of possessions are typically guys like PJ Tucker and Dort, and I think of like Andre, carved out a really nice role and didn't take a ton of possessions on offense. Jang is going to be really interesting to watch to see how his career pans out in Oklahoma City, because I think he's obviously has like super high ceiling, super low floor. Like he could be out of the league in 4 years, or he could be a top 8 guy in 4 years. I just don't have any clue where this is heading. But I think it's about consistency with him, and maybe not physicality with him, but consistently engaging yourself in the game.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, a little different than the physicality portion. I would love for him to be more physical. I would love to just put, Dort's physicality.
It doesn't have to be Dort. But Shai is a finesse guy first, Shai. But hell, he's physical.
He's physical. Yeah. But I don't know. He's definitely like a very interesting wild card, where if he can be a rotation guy this year, they kind of need someone his size with his skill set.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to a lot of the guards, I think that they have enough guards. I do think if Jang can be consistent enough to play, they need a 6'10", 6'11" forward.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, that's true. He can play on the wing. He can play as your 4. I think that he is definitely a very, very interesting one for this. I also just, and I know Lindy's a two-way player, but if Lindy can be, I think he's a good shooter. If Lindy could be a great shooter, which I think is possible,
Great means like 42 and above.
Yeah. Then, because Lindy's interesting because he's big.
Yeah,
Like
he's big and physical
like
and knows how to
6'6",
defend.
6'7". Yeah, can defend. That to me is interesting. If he's what he was last year, 35.8%, like that's not good enough to like really make it. But if he was 44% from three,
He's going to make it.
like that, like yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is a possible swing skill for him. That if he can just lock in, that he could do it. So that to me is another kind of very off the radar interesting one for me that I think is possible, because I just like you could say the same thing for like Wiggins or JRE. I just don't believe that those guys are 45%
No,
3-point
no.
shooters. You know,
That's also you being such a OSU homer right
hey,
there.
got the W
Go
last
Dogs.
night. Got the W last night. Late night. It's if you are a FIBA watcher and an OSU fan, that's just they're both are just robbing you of sleep right now. Okay, next question. The opposite. What player that we assume is going to be in the top 8 or 9 has a chance to fall out of the rotation because one of their swing skills diminishes?
Two guys for the same reasons. I think that Isaiah Joe is a guy that can sleep. If he has a starting of the season where it's the same as the last part of the season where he shots 34%, it's the same. Like it's the argument the discussion we just had for Lindy. Like
Mm-hmm.
35%, no value. 45%, huge value.
Yeah.
There are in betweens. Like I don't think that if Isaiah Joe starts off and shots 38.5%, he will be out of the rotation. That's not the case. But if he goes below that level, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be. I was going Dort, but I don't want to go Dort.
I don't know. I mean, Dort would basically have to not defend at the same level.
Yeah, but if he does defense but doesn't improve on offense, I don't think that he'll have the same impact. He'll be a top 8 guy no matter what. I wonder if he's going to be a top 6 guy. If the offense doesn't, if the offense stays at the same level, I think he will be a top 6 kind of guy. If he drops, I wonder if Kenrich with free throws and threes can be a guy that is only used situational. Because, I mean, the free throws last year were an issue in a couple of games.
That's a problem.
So he can't close. But the 3-point shooting is what he's good at. But it's also very shaky. Because, I mean, his touch is not great. And you can see that from the free throw line. And he has these moments where he takes these pull-up jumpers and he takes these threes and they go in. But if that starts to change, it's hard, because the reason why Kenrich is so good is that on offense, he is very efficient. And if it's not, then I don't think he's on the same level as Dort as a defender. He's a better passer and decision maker than Dort. But he needs to be as good shooting wise, which is not a given for Cambridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was 37% from 3 last year. Only 6 percentage points better from the free throw line at 43%. He was 17 of 39 from the free throw line last year, and 50 of 134 from 3. There can't be that many players that made more 3-pointers than free throws in the NBA. Do you think?
I can't think of a player that you will never know is not an NBA player. But this guy was a Lithuanian guy named Mindaugas Katilinas, who was a guy that played, I think, at Chattanooga in the NCAA. And he was awesome for the second league in Italy, but he was just not able to hit free throws while being like a 38% 3-point shooter. He was a big man. Great guy. But I don't know. Free throws were just not his thing.
I would guess PJ Tucker would be a guy that probably made more threes than free throws.
Was it Bruce Bowen? Was also a guy like that?
Yeah. He's very similar to Kenrich last year. 19 of 23 from the free throw line for PJ. He took 23 free throws. He played 2,000 minutes last year. He took 23 free throws. That's wild.
But he hit a floater against OKC that like got Houston the W. It was probably one of the 20 times that he actually got close to the to the hoop in that season.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that with Kenrich too. But he and Dort both just have like a mentality that the Thunder need. Like if you took away those two from this team, it's tough. I mean, I know people in hindsight kind of look back at Nick Collison and what he did for the Thunder and think like, why did they retire this guy's jersey? Like, what's going on here? If you're saying that, like, you clearly didn't watch him, because he brought like a certain energy and mentality to the team that they needed. And, Perk was another guy that did that. Tabo did that.
I wonder
did that.
What's the role of Chet in all this?
As far as mentality?
Yeah. Because I think that Chet definitely has it.
Oh, he's
a dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he's the guy who puts the defensive identity and mentality, A, that is going to be great news for OKC, and B, that is also going to allow OKC to be way more flexible on offense.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. All right, next question. Which of the following players would you most like the Thunder to trade for that would allow them to kind of kick this like Bertans, Oladipo bloated contracts down the road a little bit and maybe collect some assets? Clint Capella, who has 1 year left after this year at $22.2 million. If Atlanta gave you 2 seconds.
No.
Okay. Malcolm Brogdon makes $22.5 million after this season. It's a lot. I think you could probably get a couple seconds from Boston.
No. Don't like that.
Lonzo Ball, who makes $21.3 million. He is coming off surgery again and is basically going to need a chance to get his career back on track. But he will make $21.3 million in his final year player option. You best believe he's picking up that player option.
He is the most interesting for now.
Yeah.
It's just taking a flyer. Like, it's very slim of a flyer because I'm sure that he will not play. But he's tall. He thinks the game at a high level. He can hit threes, and he used to play defense.
Yeah.
So he could play in at least 3 different roles for OKC. Not the 4 spot, but I 1, 2, 3, yes. So he's a guy that if Chicago gives me 2 seconds, okay, depending on what I want to do with my guys, I don't think Alonso will come here and being the man or demanding possessions. He will actually not be part of the rotation, at least until the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that is someone where I can see, okay, it's a bet. It's probably amount to nothing. I'll get 1 or 2 seconds, and that's okay. I don't think that Chicago does it for if they have to do a couple of seconds for the same reason.
Yeah, probably not. This is just like a cost-saving move only, or like a cap space generation type of move. I kind of like that one. I think Lonzo would be great with the Thunder if he could play. Like he would be legitimately great. And I think he can play 1 through 4 in certain lineups.
Yeah.
Yeah, not every lineup can he play the 4, but like he's got good size.
And 6'7".
Could certainly play the 3, could certainly play 1 through 3. Not that they won't really even need him to play the 4, but I'm just talking about like switching.
Yeah.
But if he can shoot, he can pass. Like he definitely plays like a Thunder brand of basketball.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, his career probably won't get back on track, which is a huge bummer.
Yeah.
All right, next one. another injury guy that just needs to get his career back on track. Jonathan Isaac at 17.4. That's what he'll have in his last year in the 24-25 season.
I would do it, but why would Orlando entertain something like that? Are they liking Bertan's shooting all that much? Bringing back Oladipo? Like, I would do that. I would probably do that even if I don't get an asset, just to flip flop to counter getting, well, maybe an asset you need because you're basically taking on 12 millions for 2024, 2025. That's a bet that if it works, it's going to change a lot for you because you need, like, he's not Jang. He's not very similar to Jang. He used to be a very high defensive prospect with shooting ability. Not really a passing guy, but he's a guy that will work.
Yep. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's interesting to me too. Again, similar to Lonzo, where you just have to have like absolutely like rock bottom expectations for this guy. But if like you have like 5% chance that this works out, it's like could be pretty nice. Last one, you probably have to give up an asset to get this guy. But I think he's also interesting as a forward. What about Denny Avdia, who has you could basically give Oladipo for him. So
you're asking me to give up an asset for a guy that I hated through the entire draft process? No.
You still hate him?
Yeah.
You can defend.
Yeah, it doesn't do much for me. It's a guy that doesn't pop for me. I would not give an asset for that guy. I understand what his role can be. I would much rather.
You have a second?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Question for you right now. What are you? Suppose that Shai comes to your door as Sam Press and say, "Hey Sam, I had a very, very long conversation with a guy at FIBA. He really wants to get out of Brooklyn and he wants to play with me. He's going to stay 4 years. You can put it in writing even if you can't right now. But Mikal Bridges wants to play with me. He will give anything to play with me right now. You have to get him here. What are you offering?"
Oh boy. So they're gonna want a lot for Bridges.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot.
Yeah.
And like they're gonna want like picks and one of the young guys.
Yep. It's going to be 4 picks and one of the guys, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Gosh, I mean, he just signed his deal, and he's
team control for 4 years.
Yeah, he's got through 2026, so he's got 3 more years left.
Yeah, I don't know why Spartak has 4, but yeah, probably they're counting
last season.
The current, yeah.
Gosh, I don't know, man.
Would you? I'm telling you where I am.
Good, and he would definitely fit. He definitely fits what they want to do as far as like an offensive player, like great shooter, good enough defender. Like he could definitely be like a Chris Middleton kind of guy for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's probably foolish of me to say like no to this in favor of one of the other guys, because like honestly, what we would want for Giddey or J-Dub or guys like that is for them to be as good as a guy like Michele.
Yeah. No, what I want to understand is where is your head and heart on these young guys?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I was the one that had to make the decision, I wouldn't do it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So if Brooklyn is ready to say yes to Gideon 4 picks, you would not pull the trigger.
No.
Okay. And suppose that you decided to pull the trigger. which package are you choosing? Are you leaving Chet, J-Dub, or Giddy? You have to pick one. You have to. It's hard, you know. It's not easy to say, hey, it's going to be Giddy. And then you
As
think,
far as like a
oh,
team that fits together, like I think Giddy would be the one that you would trade. I don't think
yeah, but you can also say with Mikel, you have such a great shooting that maybe Giddy is the one that unlocks it all.
yeah, I was gonna say like you could go J-Dub, or I don't think you would want to trade Chet just because you haven't even seen it yet. And the odds, like he is the number 2 overall pick and could be a great player.
Yeah.
He's unusual too. And like unusual great players typically change the game in some way. And you don't want to give up that opportunity.
Yeah. But boy, he would fit so well. Anyway, go on with your questions.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it today, but maybe
Homer.
It could be dumb. Could be real dumb. But yeah, also I just want to see, give your homegrown team a chance to go do it,
Yeah.
before you make a move like that. I mean, if they made that move and it was Giddy and 4 picks, and
yeah, but the premise is Shai's asking you to do it. That is a very important part of the question. So you can just say, oh no, Shai, I'm just going to just stay here and watch. Yeah, but I asked you to do it.
yeah,
So it's also like a power play from Shai. This is a very, very disturbed universe, which I don't want. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you do that, like your defense gets better immediately. Your offense probably takes a step up, and the pecking order looks a little bit different too. Mm-hmm. But you're definitely a better team right away. Also, it's because Mikel's 26, 27.
It's not that old.
No, I'm just saying that like, he's ready to win now.
He's starting his prime. Yeah.
In comparison to Giddy, who's only 20.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit more time with Josh, but Josh could hit a different level, and he's just such a different player. It's a hard comp because like obviously if you compare like shooting and defense, like yeah, it's Michele all day, but Giddy has such an unusual skill set that it's hard to kind of weigh what he could be. Okay, last question. I brought up the idea of trading for Corey Kispert on the OKC Dream Team pod last week. Just give me your thoughts on that. I just want to know.
My thinking is I hate you. Like you have Grady Dick right there. Why just don't pick him instead of like doing all these things to get like an older version of Grady Dick?
Oh, I think Kispert. Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I think Grady Dick is a better defender, a taller guy. He's a less of a cutter and the same kind of shooter. Younger. Mm-hmm. But I would love to trade for Corey Kispert because I actually love the idea of getting a Corey Kispert type of guy in the draft. So I'm all in. What I would trade for a guy like that, I don't know. I would not sweat over a lightly or a top 15 protected, top 12 protected first round pick. To me, it's an asset that I can't give away, especially in 2024. I don't think that Washington does it, by the way. They would want like the Philly pick or one of the Phoenix's picks, some pick later in the or
maybe the Utah Jazz pick
this year. Sure. Yeah, I would do that. I would also try to put something else in the deal, like maybe Trey Mann and just to clear space and to have like a guy that again, to me, the thing that I'm not completely trusting Corey Kispert is the defensive side, and that is why I think that Grady Dick offers me a little bit more on that end. He's taller, and I don't know. I mean, you can't probably put Isaiah Joe and Corey Kispert at the same time on the floor. Whereas I had hopes during the draft preparation that you could have like a decent defense with Grady Dick on. Not the same basketball IQ, not the same passing level, which is why I think you are suggesting Kispert compared to a guy like Ray Dick. But I don't think that role necessarily needs to have a ton of, hey, like this is the defense, just read and do something. To me, it's more, hey, just space the floor for me and just hit threes at a high rate, take threes at a high rate, which is something that if you're a tall player, you can do. But again, all into getting guys that can do a lot of stuff with their movement and with their shooting, because we have seen in so many competitions, including FIBA, that the space for Shai is the A1 thing. I was talking about basketball with a very wise man that I will not name. And we were discussing a player that's very physical and very good at getting to the basket in the NBA. And we were discussing which one was more important, making decision with the basketball or shooting the basketball. And we came to the conclusion that on one end, recognizing the situation and making the right decision is very important, but also like being a good shooter allows you to have the defense on his heels and allows you for easier decisions. So I'm not able today to pick one of the two skills, because it depending on how good of a shooter you are compared to how terrible of a decision maker you are. But both will allow for a lot. And again, this is why I don't think that drafting a guy like Grey Dick was out of the question for OKC, because I think that they will need that kind of shooting. And so, yay for Kispert.
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting. I wouldn't expect anything like that to happen, but I'm just thinking of like, how can they add shooting? Washington is probably willing to trade pretty much whoever on the team outside of Koulibaly. So I just kind of wonder.
Now.
Yeah. For now. All right. Thanks so much for joining us early here on a Sunday morning. Shout out again to the Canadians for the win, and to Shai for finishing off just a outrageously great summer for him.
Hey, bronze medal. That's great.
Yeah, it's good. It's very, very good. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday and Monday, and we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.